Hello everyone and welcome to Tomorrow's Tech, brought to you by 3.digital. We look to showcase entrepreneurs and industry leaders who are harnessing technology, driving innovation and enabling business growth. In Australia, we have an opportunity to focus and lead advanced manufacturing and hardware technology. To bring you the deep insights to the hard questions, we have Vicario here today with us, the CEO and founder of Hardware Incubator and Accelerator. Welcome, Victor.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Victor, why is Australia yet to embrace advanced manufacturing and Industry 4.0?
Well, there hasn't been a lack of trying. There's been a number of government and organizational bodies trying to promote the adoption of advanced manufacturing technologies. Think about robotics and robotic arms, 3D printing, AI, sensors, etc.
Yes.
There's a difference from that and actually seeing the efficiencies of advanced manufacturing as a process to bring to lower cost of unit production, high optimization of productivity. And you only get the latter if you're integrating 4, 5, 6 different technologies together in a particular form and have enough volume of workflow going through them to then see that economic unit benefit. And we're not seeing that. Only a few companies are taking that risk of high technical cost, high technical expertise barrier and overcoming it and keeping that knowledge in-house. And every other industry and business are looking at this environment and saying, well, it's too complicated for us. We don't know what the economic benefits are going to be. There's no practical examples with which we can interact with. That's what's missing.
ARC is one of the few hardware technology incubators across Australia. How can we develop more robust and results-driven hardware technology startup ecosystems in this country?
First of all, we have to recognize the importance of hardware technologies in manufacturing. Think about how you interact with your everyday life, with health, food, physical infrastructure and transport. You're interacting with physical technologies. So we definitely need innovation there. Not to say that you use software digital innovation to optimize that, but they're both equally important. Now, once you recognize that and you look at what resources are necessary to have a thriving ecosystem, it tends to be quite expensive because of the nature of the prototyping, manufacturing technologies and technical expertise involved. And who's going to pay for that? And that's the big question. And ultimately, it's industry that's going to pay, but only if they can realize and understand what value that has to them. And to find out that value, they need to know what inefficiencies they currently have and how much is that costing them and what benefits would they have if they are able to crowdsource solutions to those problems. So we have a lot of manufacturing companies throughout the country, yet we have very limited supporting infrastructure. So if we had more of these industry-led approach, problem-based approach to solutions, we can draw in more innovation, more technology and more hubs.
What value would there be if hardware, software and innovation hubs collaborated meaningfully within the one ecosystem?
The value would be enormous. There's already an integration with technology of hardware and software in the real world. But unfortunately, as far as infrastructure and hubs, they're all scattered throughout the country. And if they're brought together, they would complete the picture in terms of supporting infrastructure. That's particularly important in Australia because we have a small market and a small population. So we can't afford to be scattered. We have to bring in different ecosystems and have them collate with each other, create a critical mass that creates its own gravity. That way, it will be easier to see companies commercialize their products, reach success, raise capital. Then you'll have ultimately these successful entrepreneurs that become inspiration for future generations, and that concludes the cycle. We see this in other countries, in the United States. They're all clustered together in small jurisdictions. We have to do the same thing here.
Several universities have mechanical and mechatronic laboratories. How should the industry-led approach be applied to universities looking to invest in the hardware startup ecosystem?
So at the moment, we have a very large missed opportunity with universities. They have all these ingredients which are critical for leaders in this ecosystem to thrive. They have the resources and the equipment. They have the talent, researchers, and industry connection through alumni and companies. However, they're still operating in a siloed, bubbled approach, which is industry and educational led. What that means is they're lacking the engagement with the broader industry, with the SME market, to really understand what the real problems are. Who are they looking for to then solve those problems, which ultimately would be their students. And this lack of communication is obvious, where you have this solution-based approach to innovation, where you're creating new opportunities and hoping they match with a need, rather than a problem-based innovation ecosystem, which is what we need. So if the university can't lead this because they're not designed to do this and play this role, that's fine. Then there needs to be an industry body on the outside coordinating this and managing this relationship, and government may have a role there as well.
If the relationship between university and industry does not evolve to allow for sufficient pathways, what would the impact be on this country?
The impact will be very significant, and we're feeling that already, and it will be felt even further in the future. Basically, unless we capitalize on this opportunity of developing their talent and matching that with industry and industry problems, what we'll see is basically a brain drain. So we'll see talent having to leave the country to fill in the gaps that are created in other jurisdictions, whilst here there's no opportunities for there to actually solve those problems. And that's going to have follow-on effects on the economy and jobs further on.
Victor, how could Australia present itself to be more attractive to entrepreneurs and industry leaders wanting to develop hardware technology innovations?
So we already have some great resources that maybe are not known in the country. Things like strong R&D tax incentives. The cost of talent is relatively low compared to other jurisdictions like the United States, for example. And our market is a great market to trial new technologies before they're deployed internationally. So we have that. What we're missing is then this proven and streamlined process around commercialization, where these innovation hubs can really play a role. This strong industry connection with this problem-based approach at its core. And another thing that is missing is a bit more of a streamlined opportunity to access funding. And that comes to, if we're able to de-risk the whole process, investment will come. It's just a bit more risk adverse compared to other jurisdictions. So if all these elements come together, we'll definitely thrive. There's no reason why one would develop a technology anywhere else.
Thank you very much for your time today, Victor. It's been great to learn more about how educators, universities, entrepreneurs and industry can collaborate in the hardware technology innovation space. And thank you to our viewers for tuning into this episode, especially those of you who are developing your own hardware technology innovations. If you want more information from Victor or the Tomorrow's Tech team, let us know at the Tomorrow's Tech team LinkedIn page. Otherwise, see you again next time for another episode of Tomorrow's Tech.
Tomorrow's Tech, presented by 3 Dot Digital.